Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast,
where we never finish first because we finish last.
Thank you once again for listening. I am Ben Morgan. That's DJ Primo. DJ, I got to ask you, man, do you have, we'll get into some football talk here, but I got something on my chest here I want to get off. Do you have a Keurig?
So that's a cool, interesting question. We actually don't, but Aubrey's mom has one in her basement.
Who's Aubrey?
My wife.
All right.
My wife's mom has one in her basement, and we asked if we could take it, and she's like, "Well, I don't know. I might ever not use it." So she didn't let us take it, and it's still in the basement. So that's cool. So we could.
But she just doesn't want to. She just doesn't want to part ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I tell you what, man, I wouldn't take it from her because so there's these little. I think they're called K cups.
Yeah.
So there's one on it that's made, it's not a coffee thing, it's like a fruit punch, like a vitamin water almost, and it says iced on it, like it's supposed to be cold. No possible thing on the Keurig lets water come out it unless it's boiling hot. So in order to make this iced thing, the directions tell you to make it, and then they have the nerve to tell you to put ice cubes in it. That's how they recommend you making it chilled.
Like they can't even have it come out like cold, like refrigerated.
Isn't that some shit?
The biggest money scheme ever. They're just getting you to buy more stuff, but then you have to do all the work still afterwards. Like so it's supposed to be easy, and then you have to fucking cool it down. Like if you do an iced coffee, then it's just gonna be stale.
Oh yeah.
Like, it doesn't. That's awesome. That's the biggest ripoff ever because you could literally just go buy.
Oh yeah, you can get a Gatorade.
Like a Gator, yeah, or like a freaking vitamin water or whatever, raspberry iced tea at the damn store, or a slushie, for Christ's sake.
I wouldn't be mad that it doesn't just have cool water. Like, I wouldn't be mad that it only does hot water if they wouldn't have had the nerve to tell me to cool it down by putting ice in it.
Yeah, they do all the work after we do the work.
That's what pissed me off the most. So if anyone has any hacks as to get into this Keurig and make it come cold, email me or something.
Let them know.
Yeah, let me know. Well, thank you once again for putting up with my Keurig debacle and checking out the Loaded Box podcast. If you missed the last episode, we talked about NFL rookie fantasy rankings of the positions of quarterback and running back. As always, if you have iTunes, be sure to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review if you haven't yet. And today we're going to carry on the NFL rookie fantasy rankings and move on to the receivers and tight ends who... Man, those are your positions, DJ. They rule the world, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's start the way we did it last time as well, and we'll do. You go through your rankings of receivers, and then I'll go through mine, and then we can discuss the differences and what we like and where we'll draft certain people.
So you're gonna hate this, and I think people are gonna kind of like be like, "What?" And I have reasons for all of this, and I'll get to them after the rankings. But I only have 4 wide receivers ranked. Purely because of, I think these are the only 4 that are going to be worth drafting worth drafting at all. So I only rank 4. I think anybody can guess who they are. But in my order, I have Mike Williams, number 1, Chargers. Los Angeles Chargers.
Yep.
Corey Davis, number 2, at the Tennessee Titans. Zay Jones, number 3, Buffalo Bills. And John Ross, number 4, at the Bengals.
Nice.
That's
so 4 and done.
4 and done. That's it. I have more quarterbacks.
Safe to say that you're probably not going to have a rookie receiver on your team this year?
I could have one of these guys.
One of those, but it's going to be one of those guys.
Yes.
All right. Well, I have 11 ranked, and not saying that I'm going to draft 11, but my rankings are number 1, Corey Davis, number 2, Mike Williams, flip-flop there, and then we'll flip-flop here as well, because number 3, I have John Ross, number 4, I have Zay Jones, number 5, I have Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams. Number 6, Curtis Samuel of the Carolina Panthers. Number 7, Ardarius Stewart of the New York Jets. Number 8, Juju Smith-Schuster of the Steelers. I really thought you'd have him ranked, man. You love that guy.
Nope. I have reasons for it.
No, Juju?
Nope. No, Juju. Mama
Juju. Number 9, Carlos Henderson of the Denver Broncos. Number 10, Taywan Taylor of the Titans. And number 11, Chris Godwin of the Buccaneers, who I think you're going to want. But I'll let you start with your number one guy. You said it was Mike Williams of the Chargers.
I'm gonna convince you to switch Mike Williams.
Never.
Or Corey Davis right now.
Let's hear it.
Going to. I don't even know why you would put Mike Williams. Okay, you may think Corey Davis is the better wide receiver. That's fine. I could get on board with that. But look at where they're at. Okay, Mike Williams is going to be maybe number 2 wide receiver at behind Keenan Allen, who knows if he's going to stay healthy at the Chargers.
Probably not.
Of Los Angeles, right?
Yeah.
They throw the ball. That's what they do. They air it out. He's going to score touchdowns. Look at what the freaking wide receivers – how many wide receivers scored multiple touchdowns for the Chargers last year? This guy could have landed in a better spot with Philip Rivers. As long as he stays healthy, he can score 8 touchdowns, like minimum. He can score 8 touchdowns. He's a big body wide receiver who Rivers is going to give a chance to throw it to. And they're going to be doubling Keenan Allen if he's on the field, so he's going to get that opportunity to go up one-on-one with cornerbacks and make plays. Corey Davis is in a run-first offense who doesn't throw the ball as much. So he's a great wide receiver, but he's just not going to get the opportunities that Mike Williams is going to get with Philip Rivers, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, that Corey Davis is going to get at Tennessee with Marcus Mariota, DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry, running the shit out of the ball constantly, keeping people off the field, and then mixing in some play action, and then instituting them that way. I mean, he is going to be the top targeted wide receiver, but Delaney Walker's probably still going to get more targets than he is when it comes down to it, and they're just not throwing the ball up. That's why you should have Mike Williams higher.
So that's your 1, 2, and that's why you like Williams higher than Davis.
That is why. I'm not arguing talent. I'm arguing fantasy football opportunities and scoring.
And I can respect that, but here's where here's my difference. I think Corey Davis has the most impact of any rookie receiver of this year, and he's on an up-and-coming offense. You had mentioned how they run the ball, but there's a little bit more that goes into that right now. So Corey Davis is already the highest Tennessee ranked receiver according to average draft position going in the 5th round, and then you have got Rashard Matthews in the 7th. And if you're going between those two, Matthews played well last year, but I would reach and take Davis in the 5th before I'm taking a guy like Matthews in the 7th. So I do think if you want Davis, there's going to be a lot of hype around him. You're going to have to reach for him. But this is why I think he's in a perfect offense to thrive. You had mentioned the running game, which is fine. I mean, they're going to get their numbers. That's just how it's going to be. But I'm not really scared of receivers in an offense like that because Mariota is still going to throw the ball. In his rookie year, he played 12 games and threw 19 touchdowns. Last year, he played in 15 games and threw 26 touchdowns. So if he plays a full season and he gets better, he's already probably projected to be right around that 30 total, and that's probably where Philip Rivers is going to be when it's all said and done too.
Christ. Philip Rivers is going to outthrow touchdowns by probably 10. Probably beat Mariota by about 10 touchdowns.
So if Mariota ends up with 28, you're going to give Rivers 38 touchdowns.
Shit, yeah. I would never put anything about Philip Rivers.
I like Rivers, and this is where...
He's the most underrated quarterback in the NFL every year, especially in fantasy circuits. He's always underdrafted. I don't understand why.
Yeah, and this is where I fall in with Mike Williams. Because like you said, the Chargers have a lot of average receivers outside of Keenan Allen. And
Inman and what's the other guy that also scored? Oh, Tyrell Williams.
Tyrell Williams, Travis Benjamin, Dontrell Inman.
Hunter Henry.
Yeah. I mean, so we're naming a bunch of kind of average guys. So yeah. I'm with you on Mike Williams. So if he impresses early, he'll get snaps. He's going to get targets. And like you said, so of the draftable rookie receivers this year, you're right. Mike Williams is playing with the best quarterback. I can't deny that.
That throws the most, too. They throw a ton. I mean, I guess Gordon is a lot better now, and he scored a lot of touchdowns last year, but it's still a Rivers world.
Yeah. And one thing about Mike Williams that I think that you'll like and which might make him your guy.
Yeah, I'm a sizist.
Well, you're a sizist, but also his average draft position is the 8th round.
Yeah. Oh, God, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So if you're looking at Keenan Allen, he's third round. That's too early for me. I'm avoiding Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
He's great, but he's just too scary.
Way too many question marks. He can't be one of my first two receivers.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Right.
One of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and he's healthy. But yeah.
Yeah. So then you got Mike Williams in the 8th, and then Tyrell Williams is also going in the 8th. And if you're in between those two guys, yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking Mike Williams.
Yep.
I think Mike Williams is the perfect type of receiver to play opposite Keenan Allen. And where I sort of agree with you is Mike Williams can be a monster in the red zone. He could lead all rookie receivers in touchdowns.
Oh, he will.
But I think Davis leads all rookies in yards, and I still think Davis gets some touchdowns. And I don't think Mike Williams' touchdowns is going to be that much higher than Corey Davis, and I think Corey Davis outscores Mike Williams his rookie year.
See, I think Mike Williams. I don't even think actually it'll be close between those two. I think he's going to have more yards and more touchdowns than Corey Davis. I just don't think the opportunities are there for Corey Davis. And again, he has the health question mark as well.
He's probably going to be the most targeted receiver on the team, though. Whereas Mike Williams, if Keenan Allen stays healthy, I mean, like you said, Melvin Gordon bust out last year. He's up and coming. You have Hunter Henry. You have a fossil in Antonio Gates. You have Keenan Allen. Like, I don't know. I feel like both of them are a little bit crowded, but in sense of receivers, I think Tennessee's got more opportunities for Davis than San Diego has for Mike Williams.
He'll be the most targeted wide receiver potentially for a team that probably throws, I don't know, throw or run the ball probably 40, 60. They probably run the ball 60% of the time where they throw it 40. But the tight end's probably the most targeted pass catching option. I just don't, especially and then in the red zone, he's just not going to be. In the red zone, I don't even think he'll be on the field that much.
Oh man, he's good. You're gonna like Corey Davis, man. I like
the guy. I think he's going to fit well in the offense. I think it's going to be a process. I don't think it's going to be this first year. And the other thing I was going to bring up is just going off of that, and maybe I'll do it after the four. I could have done it after the 4 receivers. But, I mean, I have the two highest scoring rookies, wide receivers last year. Freaking Tyreek Hill. Somehow an anomaly with the 11th scoring wide receiver. So that's incredible. But after that in fantasy points, it was Sterling Shepard. And I think people thought more rookies were going to make an impact. But, you know, there was injuries, like you said, and all that stuff pre-podcast. But he was a 37th fantasy scoring wide receiver in the league. That was down there with, I think that was lower than Allen Robinson. That was down there with Marquise Lee area. So I don't think rookie wide receivers make the impact, especially these guys. I see them being in a similar type of range. I don't think there's anybody who just blows your mind. And then we'll get more into that as you go on with your wide receivers. But I think Mike Williams is that one guy who's going to make the impact. I think after that, you're going to see a huge fall off.
My argument against that is in fantasy this year, I would draft Corey Davis and Mike Williams higher than I would have drafted Corey Coleman, Josh Doxson, Laquan Treadwell, Sterling Shepard last year.
You see that?
So I don't know if there was as much hype. I don't know. I like the comparison. I like the stat. You can't really argue the stat too much, but it's the fact that I think these players have better opportunities and these are more quality NFL-ready guys than those other rookies were last year, and that's why I think there was such a big drop-off. Because if you look at Odell Beckham, look at Mike Williams, look at what's his nuts from the Packers, Adams, look at Jarvis Landry. All those guys came in as rookies and did fine.
I just don't think wide receivers. I think there's a curve to learning the position now, especially with the passing game. That it's hard. They all break down after the first few weeks. They hit a fatigue stage. It's different than college where they were juniors and seniors and the more experienced guys. Now it's a whole other new culture shock. I don't think you see the same impact out of those first year rookies. I think you see the biggest impact second and third year. I think Sterling Shepard is the guy who you can see just fall way up the rankings this year compared to what he was last year. I think it takes a year to just figure it out, and the cornerbacks are twice as good now as they were in college. It's just completely different. The coverages are different. Learning the routes, the lingo, it's just a learning curve that they have to figure out after a year.
See, but like right now, I would rather have Corey Davis and Mike Williams over Sterling Shepard because of the Brandon Marshall addition.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, just because the offense he is, but I think I could find other guys. Which,
But well, let's
I
say
didn't study.
let's say when Marshall retires, because he said he's going to be done after this year, after the next year. Then Sterling Shepard, by that time, it's like you said, he's gone through the process of becoming an NFL receiver. That's where I think a guy like Sterling Shepard shines, and I think that if you had him in like a dynasty or a keeper league, whatever, I think you're a little bit disappointed that Marshall went there because you're hindering his fantasy output. But at the end of the day, he's learning now from two of the best in the game right now. So it's going to make him a better overall receiver, but you're just not going to get that immediate fantasy impact of a guy like Mike Williams and Corey Davis.
I think there's going to be a lot of second-year guys that are going to be higher than these rookies yet that didn't have an impact.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to agree to disagree on that one because I am the president of the Corey Davis fan club. So
I mean, you're not going to get very many points out of him, and I'll have more points out of Mike Williams, but that's okay.
It's all right. I'll beat you with Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Sounds good.
Let's go on to your number 3.
I have Zay Jones here. He could potentially end up being the reason is because he could potentially end up being the number 1 wide receiver in Buffalo.
Right.
Who knows what's going to happen with Sammy Watkins? Obviously, he's the number 1 wide receiver when healthy, but he doesn't stay healthy. So that leaves Zay Jones taking Robert Woods' spot, being the top guy. Tyrod Taylor, fan club right here. He's going to take his game to another level yet this year. I know they like to run the ball, but I think Zay Jones is going to get a lot of opportunities on the field. I think he's going to be on the field a ton. And again, like I said, Sammy Watkins, with his problems, Zay Jones is probably going to end up being the number 1 wide receiver in Buffalo. So I'm kind of high on Zay Jones. Like I'm sure I would like to hear. I can't wait to hear what his ADP is because I have a feeling I would probably draft him higher.
You're gonna jump on this guy.
What his ADP is.
Yeah. You're gonna jump on this guy. I'm with you. I have Zay Jones 4, but like I said, I'm not. I have John Ross 3. I'm pretty solid that I want John Ross ahead of Zay Jones, but I definitely get your points. Wide receiver was a huge need for the Bills, especially after not picking up the 5th-year option on Sammy Watkins. So a guy like Zay Jones might even get more looks in his rookie year just to see what they're going to do with Sammy Watkins moving forward. And like you said, if Watkins gets hurt again, the Bills literally have one of the weakest groups of receivers in the NFL.
Yeah.
Listen to these guys. They have Corey Brown, Andre Holmes, and Brandon Tate. That's who's competing with Zay Jones.
Yeah, that's not even real.
Yeah, so I think Zay Jones is a solid fantasy option to take up, to choose from. He's the second highest average draft position guy of the Bills receivers. Do you have a guess of like rounds 1 through 20 if you're going real deep? Where do you think he is?
Where do I think that he's going?
Yeah.
Round 10.
Yeah, his average draft position right now is 14th.
Oh yeah, I'm jumping all over.
I know. So I'm all about grabbing that. Maybe he's not that immediate guy right now, but if you get him in the 14th round, he's a perfect guy for a spot start if needed. If he's giving opportunities, gosh, you have him as a flex, you have him as a receiver 3. I'm with you. I really like Zay Jones, and I think that offense they might need him. They really might need him, and that might force more targets his way.
Even with Watkins there, he's going to be on the field. He's going to be the second guy.
Absolutely.
He's going to have single coverage. So as long as he can figure it out, and it's again that's the learning curve problem. As long as he can pick up the offense and figure it out, and with Tyrod's ability to kind of scramble and move around, that could help him a lot. So. Oh
yeah, Zay Jones is a big play kind of guy. So yeah absolutely. So you had Zay Jones 3. You have John Ross 4.
Yeah, John Ross is the last guy I would consider. I'm not going to draft him. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like these speed guys in their first year in the NFL. They make me nervous. They just want to run fast. They just want to run flies. They want to kind of. I feel like he's just going to want to show off his wheels. He's probably going to have 1, maybe 2 long touchdowns this year. But I mean, AJ Green's the main target. He's still the main deep threat, in my opinion. They are bringing in a guy because they did lose Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu the previous year. Yeah. So they obviously realized after losing AJ Green for a while how much that hurt them and how much it hurt them not to have other wide receivers that are bigger threats. So they're obviously bringing him in here to use him. They're going to use him. but these speed guys, little guys, don't get me excited, especially in their first year. I don't see him doing a lot in his rookie year, but I think you can see a couple of flashes, just not a ton.
Yeah, and the reason I have John Ross ranked third and ahead of Zay Jones is I think he got drafted into a really good situation where he can thrive in, and I think he will happen a little bit earlier than what you think. His average draft position, so just for comparison's sake, Zay Jones was 14th. John Ross is in the 11th, and I like that. I think John Ross has that potential to maybe not match a guy like Corey Davis or Mike Williams, but I think he could potentially come close in fantasy points. And in terms of value, this might be the rookie receiver that I end up taking. Like you said, AJ Green's going to dominate targets, but they really don't have a great number two. Trying to think of the guy. I'm drawing a blank on him now that they got last year out of Pittsburgh.
Got a second. They got a.
I'm just mind blanking right now.
I know, I'm farting on him too.
Well,
it's,
regardless, though, but between guy out of Pittsburgh and Tyler Eifert's injury history, I think Ross could see some targets here, and I mean, that slot role is open for him just based on what he has for the roster, and I think they'll feed him the ball. I really think that based on value, I'm perfectly fine with having him in the 11th round.
Yeah. I mean, I said my piece with him, so I don't know.
And
I'm getting pissed about the Steelers wide receiver, so
No, not Steelers, Bengals, but he went to Pittsburgh.
No, the old Steelers wide receiver. I know who you're talking about. Oh, Wheaton.
No, Wheaton went to the Bears.
He went to the Bears.
University of Pittsburgh.
Oh, gotcha. God, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, this is a terrible mind blank. I should have put his name down, but regardless. So you're done. That was your top four.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, we had to pause there. DJ's kid was making some noises that this podcast just wasn't ready for.
Yep, and he may make some noises during this podcast yet. So.
Did mom take away the milk supply? What happened?
I don't know. He's just being a shithead, but he's quiet now, so.
Those are the noises I make when I get the milk supply taken away.
I bet.
Well, we were just doing our top four, so since you only had four ranked, I guess I'll go on to my number 5, and it's Cooper Kupp of the LA Rams. And I literally think that he is draftable just because he's going to get looks in the slot. And I think you're going to agree with me here. I'm avoiding Rams in fantasy football just in general.
Yep.
But I think that he could potentially get a decent amount of receptions in what I think is going to be a relatively conservative offense. So maybe a better idea there in like a PPR type league. His average draft position right now is in the 17th round, so probably like deep bench, PPR league. But really the only outside playmakers that team even has is a recently acquired Robert Woods, and then they just drafted Josh Reynolds out of A&M. So they have Tavon Austin, who is either, I can't tell, is Tavon Austin either a disappointment or do they not know how to use him like a team like Kansas City uses Tyreek Hill? I don't know. So I think that Cooper Kupp could potentially be like a slot guy.
Yeah, this is why I don't have, because you're about to name 3 guys on just teams that I just wouldn't draft guys for. So again, I'm not going to draft a rookie wide receiver playing for a second-year quarterback in St. Louis or LA. Sorry, for the Los Angeles Rams. So yeah, not going to make my list. Not going to make my team.
Yeah, and like I said, he's 17th round, deep bench stash, maybe a PPR kind of guy, but I'm not super high on. I'm with you. Like I like the top 4 guys, and then it is kind of a drop off, but I just see some of these guys as draftable, so I put them on the list so we could at least discuss them and what kind of roles they might have. But my number 6 guy is Curtis Samuel, and we got to talk a little bit about him on the last podcast, how you're not really high on Samuel because, well, first you're not high on McCaffrey, but you think if McCaffrey's taking anyone's touches, it could be Samuel's. So that's the thing. Is Carolina going to get gimmicky now that they have Newton, McCaffrey, and Samuel? I don't know. But if they do, it's really hard to use a player like that in fantasy because you're either going to get a boom week or you're going to get a bust week, and they could legit put up like 1 or 2 points for you. So it's really tough with him. With a guy like Samuel, the Panthers are looking to replace speed basically since they lost Ted Ginn, and that's probably what Samuel does for them. But I think he gets less reps than what Ginn was doing. So Ginn didn't play awesome last year by any means, but the year before that, I think he had double-digit touchdowns, and I don't see Samuel touching that. But definitely a guy to keep your eye on. His average draft position is the 15th round. So once again, I think he's more of like a bench stash kind of guy with upside PPR if you can, especially if you could plug him in at running back like what you were able to do with Ty Montgomery last year and get those points. That's kind of where I see Samuel maybe getting his most value.
Yeah, third wide receivers I don't like on any team, and I think he'd be a third wide receiver on this team with Funchies and Kelvin Benjamin. Haven't heard that name for a while, huh?
No.
And then I also think Christian McCaffrey is the guy that, this is what I said before in the last podcast, like McCaffrey's going to take away he's going to be more of the slot guy, I think, than Curtis Samuel, so it kind of hurts his value. So I don't like Curtis Samuel at all, and I don't like a third wide receiver on the team or a guy who's not going to be on the field that much at all. So he's not finding my team. He's not going to score any points. That's worth it.
Right, especially when like you got a guy like Cam Newton who he's going to steal touchdowns too from Stewart, from McCaffrey, from Samuel, from all the receivers that he throws to, just because he runs them in too.
Yeah.
So it's tricky, but I think he's draftable. That's why I ranked him. I think he's draftable, but just not a guy that you're going to want to start right away, anyways. My number 7 guy from the Jets is Ardarius Stewart. And why I don't really like Stewart is it's the lack of quarterback in a lame offense, and that's going to kill Stewart's value. Right now, he doesn't even have a average draft position because according to the fantasy websites, he's projected to go undrafted. But I have him ranked 7 because I see him getting targets. I see Decker and Anunwa leading the way.
Well, everybody's getting targets, dickhead.
Not always. I mean, that's what you look for. You need to get touches. You need to get targets.
2 targets, you're getting targets the whole year, so you got targets. You got more than one.
But what I'm saying is he's going to get – okay, ass. He's going to get more targets because you've got Decker and Anunwa, and then you've got Robbie Anderson, who's busy getting in fights with security officers. You've got Devin Smith, who had another knee injury. I think Stewart can step into that slot position earlier than a lot of people think, and I kind of relate him a little bit to what Jarvis Landry did his rookie year. He got a little bit of playing time in the slot, like up until like week 6 or 7, and then bam, like he burst on the scene. It was against the Packers. He had a bunch of catches. He broke out. He had his first touchdown, and then boom, he was the slot guy the rest of the way. I could really see Stewart being that way, like at some point, like maybe like on the level of Landry, not maybe quite the numbers that he gets because of the offense he's in, and the Dolphins really push it towards Landry. I don't think the Jets will do that with Stewart. But that's kind of my comp for him is, yeah, maybe I won't draft him this year, but that's definitely a guy I'm keeping an eye on in free agency, on the waiver wire.
I love Ardarius Stewart. I think he could be a great receiver, but I hate the Jets. And I don't want to draft anybody on the Jets offense at all. Nobody on that offense am I drafting this year. So he's not draftable to me. They don't even have a freaking quarterback. I mean,
well,
sorry, Braylon just made a poopy noise, so I got thrown off there. My son just hit his pants, so I got really thrown off there. Yeah, again, I love Ardarius Stewart. I wish he was playing for the Jets. I wish he was playing for Green Bay Packers or somebody that has, like, I wish the Steelers would have drafted him. I would like him better than Juju.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you, because he's my 8th. Why, you wouldn't draft Juju Smith-Schuster at all this year?
No.
Why?
Martavis Bryant's back, and I honestly think he's the number one. I think he's better than Antonio Brown.
Martavis Bryant is one joint away from being done.
Okay, but I don't care. I think he's a monster wide receiver. He's going to be a top 10 wide receiver in the league. Maybe top 5.
Oh, you're crazy.
You've got Antonio Brown there. He's not going to get many looks. And then Le'Veon Bell, who also catches the ball a ton. And Ladarius Green, who's going to hopefully be healthy this whole year, not get migraines like Percy Harvin.
Well, he got cut, so we don't have to worry about that.
Oh, crap, he did?
Yeah.
Man, I miss everything. But they got a lot of options there. So
what I like about Smith-Schuster is the fact that his average draft position right now is in the 15th round, and you hit it. I mean, you said there's a lot of players. There's only one ball. Bell and Brown, they're going to get their looks. Bryant, if he's on the field, he's going to get his looks. But if you look at that, the next receivers in line, you've got Darius Hayward-Bay and Eli Rogers, and they're probably going to get the chance early. But Smith-Schuster has so much more potential than either of those guys. So this year, I'm hit or miss on Smith-Schuster. I'm not going to target it. I'm not going to go out of my way to get him.
I don't go past the number 2 wide receiver very often, unless they're especially if they're a rookie. So that's like my rule. I don't go past the number 2 wide receiver very often, unless they're like the Green Bay offense, and they're usually still a wide receiver 3. Green Bay offense, I don't even want to say that. The Saints offense, the Chargers offense, some teams like that specifically, and they have to be experienced guys. They can't be rookies. So I have like basically a rule against drafting a guy who's, again, the 3rd option just out of the wide receiver position, maybe the 5th option on the entire offense. So
yeah, but if you do the math, at some point you have to draft these guys. You have to fill your bench out. That's what I'm hitting here. I'm not saying I'm starting Smith-Schuster.
Well, there's other guys I'll draft. There's other guys I'll draft besides these rookies. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, they don't have to be rookies. You can get other year players that are 3rd receivers and everything.
That's why I only have 4 guys.
I got you. I just thought you'd be higher on him because you were higher on him in the draft process. And he went to a team that you like. You wanted a guy like that for Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to. If I want him to go to somewhere where he's going to be like the second guy, or something like that. So, or where it's just, I don't want somebody going to play with Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant and Le'Veon Bell and then trying to fit in.
So if Bryant wasn't there, you'd have him ranked.
Maybe.
I don't know. I would be real high on. Like he'd be like in my top 5. I think if Martavis Bryant wasn't there.
I might give a 5th option there.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really that high on him in the draft process, but if you remember me saying I wanted him to either go to Denver or Pittsburgh, and he went to Pittsburgh, and I love the fit. I do. I really like the fit.
Yeah, it's just too early for me to draft him.
Yeah. Let's go on to my number 9 guy. I've got Carlos Henderson out of Denver. He's a real late guy. His average draft position is the 18th round. I think he's more of like a keeper league type pick for an eventual replacement for Demaryius Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders. By the way, the Bengals receiver, Tyler Boyd. That's who we're name blocking on. That just hit me now, so I wanted to get that out before I forgot.
Because people thought he would be better than he was last year.
Right. And that's another reason why I like Ross. I don't see him being a target monster. But like I was saying, so I think of Henderson more of like a keeper league guy as an eventual replacement for Thomas or Emmanuel Sanders. There's really not much outside of those two. I mean, you're looking at Cody Latimer as the only other receiver.
Solid guy.
That could even be drafted, though, on that team. And honestly, like if I'm between Cody Latimer in like the 15th or 16th round or Carlos Henderson in the 18th, I'll take Henderson.
Yeah, I just wash, rinse, repeat for me. It's Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders are there. I'm not drafting him.
Yeah.
They have a rookie quarterback. I mean, he's just going to – not a rookie. He feels like a rookie because they have a bunch of garbage there. I don't even know why I said rookie. It just slipped out there.
Well,
it's a young, inexperienced quarterback that we haven't seen anything out of yet. In Paxton Lynch. So I just don't – he's going to rely on Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders for the most part, and then they're going to run the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's another bench stash kind of guy. My next 2 guys don't have average draft positions. They're just kind of more depth guys. Guys that you would want to pick up if there was an injury. It'd be Taywan Taylor for the Titans. I think you got to monitor the Tajay Sharp situation. I don't know if you saw any of that, but allegedly he punched the guy after Corey Davis was drafted. After the guy made a comment about him taking his snaps. Yeah. So I would monitor that situation because, man, there wasn't hype around Sharp last year. I didn't buy into it, and I'm glad I didn't. So
I think I said that on this podcast, do not buy into the Tajay Sharp hype.
Yeah. I know. I couldn't see that. I couldn't buy into that. And I don't want to buy into any Taywan Taylor hype right now either, but I think he's kind of just that guy. Waiver wire, if he produces 1 or 2 weeks, maybe stash him as a bench guy. And then my number 11 guy is the same thing I just said for Taywan Taylor. Is Chris Godwin. The only real upside, I think, to Godwin is Deshaun Jackson has a bit of an injury history, so if he goes down, Godwin could be that free agent pickup guy. But I mean, they've got a plethora of weapons as well now with Evans, Jackson, OJ Howard, Cameron Brate, um, Humphreys, your favorite white receiver for the for the Buccaneers. So he's gonna have to work to get time
For the
this year.
Buccaneers.
Yeah. So, well, if you don't have any other receivers, let's bump onto your favorite tight ends.
Oh, you're gonna love this.
I
one.
can't wait.
I have one tight end ranked.
Oh, you are the worst.
I almost did 0. But
Wha-
before I go into why I almost went 0, and why I decided to go 1 last second, I decided to go with OJ Howard as my one tight end. And the only reason I did this, is because Cameron Brate was the 6th highest scoring tight end in the league last year in fantasy football, and he was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think OJ Howard could be a potential freak for this team, for these guys. So if he gets those touchdowns and yards that potentially that Brate got from last year, and he's got more athleticism, and he's just an all-around, just ridiculously good tight end, blocking and passing and speed and all that stuff, he could be a freak at tight end for years to come. So he, to me, is the only draftable tight end for rookies. But I have so much more to say. I don't know if I should rant about it now. I don't know if I should save the rant until after you're done ranking yours.
I'll let you go in on it here in a second. What I want to ask you is Howard's average draft position is the 10th round. Is that too high for you?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. See, I
I
kind
don't
of.
even draft a tight end usually, and I'm going to get into this, but usually when I do, it's after the 8th round or later.
Yeah, and I have Howard as my number one guy. So my guys that I have ranked here, I have OJ Howard of the Buccaneers, number 1. Number 2, Evan Ingram of the Giants. Number 3, Njoku of the Browns. Number 4, Jordan Leggett of the Jets. Number 5, Adam Shaheen of the Bears. And number 6, Jake Butt of the Broncos.
Jake Butt.
Butt, huh?
Jake Butt.
The thing is with Howard, so I see him as like a low-end tight end 1 or a top tight end 2. And what I like is he's in an offense that's going to take that next step. And if I could get him in maybe the 11th or 12th, that's where I really like Howard. I'm not sure about the 9th or the 10th. That's a little too rich for me. Because of the fact, too, like you said, Cameron Brate finished 6th in tight ends. He's still going to get looks. He's still going to steal some touchdowns. But I think eventually Howard's going to eat into that. Like when they do go single tight ends, like it'll probably be Brate often and early. Said that one backwards. But I think that at some point Howard becomes that guy, and he'll end up stealing some more of the snaps as the season goes on.
Yep.
My number 2 guy is Evan Ingram of the Giants, and his average draft position is the 13th round, and I kind of see him as like a backup tight end with really good potential. I think he's a good tight end to have if you draft a tight end like Kyle Rudolph or Eric Ebron, because I think Ingram could unseat a guy like that after a few weeks in your fantasy roster and your lineup if he does well early. And then you have those 2 tight ends who are kind of mediocre, and you didn't spend a high pick on like that first tight end that you got in Rudolph or Ebron. So by having a guy like Ingram inserted into your lineup, you still have a bunch of other quality guys at other positions because you didn't go super high on tight end. So if you wait on tight end, you could wait a long time and then just go
Long time.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Not necessarily like back to back on your tight ends, but
Really long time, in my opinion.
but yeah, but if you get a guy like Rudolph and pair him with Ingram, I think that's what you'd want to do.
Really long.
13th round long.
No, even longer.
Well, that's his average draft position. Do you have anything you want to add to Ingram?
Nope.
All right.
You
hate
Ingram
these
is-
guys.
Yeah. Well, what?
I say you just hate these guys.
No, I hate them. I'll tell you why. I'll add it all at the end.
All right. Well, my number 3 is David Njoku. His average draft position is the 13th round as well, but I'm really not that high on him. And that's not a slight to Njoku by any means, but it's the question mark at quarterback between Kessler and Kaiser. I really don't trust either of those.
Browns.
And it's the Browns, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Njoku has that potential to be like a mid-level fantasy tight end in the future, but for me, it's just not this year.
Yeah. I agree.
Awesome. You're going to sort of agree with these because they just aren't really like drafted guys, but they're guys that are worth monitoring. So, number 4, Jordan Leggett of the Jets. I see him as more of like a free agent pickup kind of guy. You're not going to draft him. but more of like a guy to watch on the waiver wire. If Austin Safarian Jenkins gets hurt or if he sees his snaps getting cut into by Leggett, that could be a guy to monitor. Number 5, Adam Shaheen with the Bears. Same thing. It's him and Zach Miller. I think Miller will probably get drafted in your fantasy league while Shaheen won't be. Personally, I'm not drafting either. I'm just going to monitor the Shaheen situation. Waiver wire pickup once again. And last, one of our favorite names, Jake Butt. We kind of just talked about their lack of pass catching options outside of Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. So Virgil Green's your starter there. He has 3 career touchdowns. He's not a threat. So once again, I'm not drafting any Denver tight ends, but I'm going to monitor the Butt.
All right.
Let's hear it. What do you got?
Some good points. Were you done? I thought did you already talk about Shaheen? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he was my 5. Butt was my 6.
Okay, I missed Adam Shaheen. Where did he go to school again? Was it North Carolina A&T or something like that?
Oh gosh, and Ashland University.
Ashland, that's what it was. Yeah. I knew it was something weird like that. And I was like, wow. When I heard him get drafted in the car, I was actually driving somewhere. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm instituting, and everybody can steal this because it's going to be the best strategy ever. But you know how you stream defenses, throughout the season?
I do.
I'm instituting the 0 tight end strategy.
Oh.
Don't draft a tight end. Go ahead and draft some wide receivers and some extra running backs. Maybe grab a couple of those rookies. Maybe a lot of them will pop. I don't know. Grab extra guys. See if you can get a guy to pop at those positions. And here's why. Here's some reasons why I just jotted down on my piece of paper. And excuse me if I can't read my own handwriting, so it might stutter because I have the worst handwriting. But last year of all tight ends, Travis Kelce was the top scorer with 138 points. He only had 4 touchdowns the whole year.
Yeah.
So if you compare him to other pass catchers, so I'm comparing him to wide receivers since it's a wide receiver league and he's a pass catcher. His fantasy point total, he was around Jarvis Landry area in fantasy points scored. So what is that? A flex position last year?
Yep.
I don't think you would have Landry as a wide receiver 2 last year. After him. So wide receivers, after him, the next best wide receiver was Greg Olsen. Okay? Next best tight end. With only 127 points and only 3 touchdowns the whole year. That puts him in a bad spot. So that puts him around Kenny Britt and Kenny Stills area.
Yeah.
That's not good. Those are really bad numbers. You're better off here streaming tight ends based on matchups every week.
Okay, but the thing is with that, so there's a tight end position, and now people in their flex, a lot of them are able to use running back, receiver, or tight end. So more tight ends are being drafted. So I don't know that you can stream it just because there's going to be limited tight ends that are available.
You're telling me you're going to use a tight end and a flex?
Some people do. If you have a tight
end and a flex tight end? When you can only use one?
I personally not, because I'm not drafting a ton of tight ends. I'm with you. I want to try to get the Martellus Bennett kind of guy that's later.
Dude, Kelvin Benjamin had more points than Greg Olsen last year.
Kelvin Benjamin weighs more than Greg Olsen.
Like the biggest bust there was in wide receiver last year, right?
Yeah.
Next, I don't think Gronk and Reed are draftable. I won't draft them. People are going to reach for them, but they're so injury riddled. Are they even worth the risk anymore? I mean, Gronk is. I don't know if he's going to come back and play, but I don't know if he'll ever be healthy again. I think his career might be damn near over.
I'm with you on that. They're awesome, but I'm going to let some other people draft them because of that injury history. Yeah. And if you invest that high of a pick in a tight end, you are hurting yourself at the other positions.
Yeah, and your touchdown leaders at tight end were, it's funny, Cameron Brate, Hunter Henry, they led the tight ends with 8 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates was number 7. Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates are on the same team. That's 15 touchdowns between the two of them.
Yeah.
But since you're not getting a lot of yards out of these guys, Cameron Brate was probably one of the more consistent guys with yards and touchdowns. But if you're not getting a lot of touchdowns or yards out of these guys, you're waiting for the week. You're just hoping they score a touchdown. And half the time you're switching back and forth with other tight ends. You're probably missing half those touchdowns that guy's scoring.
Yeah, I agree with that, but that's why I kind of like the idea where I think Martellus Bennett might be jumped up a little bit this year. But if you, last year, for example, if you could have got Bennett in his situation and then pair him with a guy like this year, what I'm saying with Evan Ingram, who is a question mark, who you can get a little bit later. And let's say you go tight end in rounds 13 and 14. You're not investing that super high pick, but one of those guys is probably going to be able to help you out each week.
But this isn't just a one-year thing, and I wish I would have went back further, but this is consistently the problem at tight end here. After Gronk in a couple of years, there's just not tight ends worth drafting high, and people are reaching for them. And I'm just not going to draft anybody. And I'm going to find tight ends to plug in. Because, 2 years ago, you had Gary Barnidge.
Yeah.
Scoring, 10 touchdowns in that area?
Right.
Somebody's going to come out and score maybe a lot of touchdowns.
And Julius Thomas before him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't even know there's going to be tight ends that come out of the woodwork who are you can plug in.
Cameron Brate. Yeah.
Exactly. Cameron Brate is another example, perfect example right there.
Yeah.
So
you're onto something. I think you still need to draft one though.
I'm not drafting one. I promise you that. I'd rather risk it because you don't know what running backs and wide receivers are going to pop. Since fantasy football is so built around wide receivers and running backs at this point, you need to hit some at some point because your early guys, you know what? Chances are one of your top 2 running backs is not going to be good.
They're going to get hurt or they're going to have a down year.
Yeah, someone's going to get hurt or be really bad. They're just going to underperform in general. And you're going to hope that one of those later guys, because there's always a couple of running backs who pop or wide receivers, are going to have to pop, and hopefully you hit one of those guys. I think it's a better risk taking more running backs and wide receivers and trying to take a chance at getting one of those guys that are going to score a lot of points than a tight end that you know is not going to outscore your bench wide receiver.
I tell you what, I can respect the idea, and I think it's good debate, and I think it's a strategy that I'd be interested in watching how it pans out. But I swear, in our first draft together, if you take a tight end, I am not going to let it down, and I am calling your ass out.
The only league that I'm going to draft a tight end is that our touchdown league where we're required to.
Were you required to?
Yes. I'm not drafting tight ends this year. Nice.
Well,
I'm going to stream defenses and I'm going to stream tight ends.
Yeah, I've been streaming D's my entire life. That's my my fantasy.
To streaming D's.
Nice. Well, thanks again for listening to the Loaded Box podcast. Like I said, if you missed last week's episode where we ranked the top rookie quarterbacks and running backs, if you missed that, take a peek at that one. As always, tweet any questions you'd like answered on the podcast at Loaded Box. Like and share our Facebook page. And we are available on iTunes by searching Loaded Box. Subscribe, rate, and review there. And if you know how to make cold beverages work in a Keurig, make sure you direct message us that as well. Send us out.
Bye.